Compton Rick Rock TV. Let's get to the content.
Every now and then I find a good video to do a reaction to. I like to stay updated with the latest gossip in the street community, whatever you want to call it, gang community. However, I do find different videos to do reactions to. And I like this one right here, man. Monster Cody, and the title to this one is Why Monster Cody Was Not Scared of Big U in the Rolling 60s. Now, this is one thing I can say about this guy right here. I grew up in the juvenile hall system, and the first book I ever read besides rap magazines and stuff like that, I'm talking about a full book, was by Monster Cody. And when I read this book, this helped me get through that little time, whatever little week that I had the book for, whatever 2 weeks, I believe, or however fast I read the book. That took me out of jail, man. I was literally in the streets. It was like watching a movie. I'm surprised nobody did a movie to that book. But when I tell y'all that was the coldest book ever that I read, this dude right here was very educated. He was smart. And when he give detail, he go and find detail, man. Y'all got to read that book. My first book, one of my favorite books. And man, this dude right here was the truth. I think he was the baddest MF that came from the streets. All right, let's go ahead and check this out. Let's go.
Do you have any idea how many people you've killed?
No, I don't even know.
Monster Cody did an interview, and he said that he brought somebody's arm. He brought somebody's arm back to a meeting, and that was Jay Blake's arm.
You mean to tell me that story is real?
Yes, that was Jay Blake's arm.
Wow. Man, I got to go to Street TV and watch this interview, man. Shout out Street TV. Man, this is crazy. If that's the real, man.
It was real. He did bring an arm back. They chopped him up and put him in front of Jefferson High School.
And a lot of homies said a lot of treacherous things about him. They were scared of him, homie. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
Few of the big homies. I mean, men ain't supposed to be scared of men, but they was afraid of him.
All right, shout out Big Court. Y'all go over there and check out his. I believe he got OGTV over there. Big Court holding Court podcast. Rest in peace to Lil Sody. That's who y'all just seen just now. Let me get back to it.
Yu's reputation already spoke volumes, but after the indictment against him, it became even more obvious to people just how much of a terror he really was. Some folks even started calling him the Blue Suge Knight of LA, known for intimidating people, extorting them, and allegedly going as far as murdering anyone who got in his way.
They do say that part of the investigation involves the murder of another young rapper back in Las Vegas. That the murder was over, are you ready for this? A diss. That he had written something in a song supposedly talking bad about Big U, and that is why he ended up getting murdered.
But here's the thing.
Wow. This is why Big U gonna have a hard problem fighting this case right here. Because they gonna try to, all this stuff that we see that we coming across, they didn't already did they cross it. They didn't already went and searched, looked up all this stuff. They already know a lot of this stuff, man. But they gonna pay him to be the coldest monster. But let's get back to Monster Cody.
Big U and his Rollin' 60s crew might not have had the space to grow the way they did if one particular person was still in the picture. That person is none other than Sanyika Shakur, aka Monster Cody. If you think Big U was feared, Monster Cody was on another level, a straight-up psychotic menace. This man literally earned the nickname Monster after he beat a man's face so badly, it became completely unrecognizable. And just at the age of 13.
Where did Monster come from?
The name?
Yeah.
Because America produced me, but the name came from a beating that I had given the guy, and the dude hit me in the face, and then we chased him and beat him and stomped him and disfigured him, and the pigs, police, were saying that whoever had did this to this cat was a monster.
That's why a lot of people believe Big U wouldn't have been able to stand next to Cody, let alone rise up the way he did. In fact, some say Big U and his people might not have even existed the way they do now, especially since one of the main sets Cody went hard against were the Rollin' 60s, during that brutal war between the 8 Trey Gangster Crips and the Rollin' 60s.
All right. Now, when I read this book, man, this stuff was crazy. When they talk about them 2 sets right there, cold. I'm telling you, this could be the best movie, man. Right now, if they put it out, man. Yeah, let's get back to this, though.
Do you have any idea how many people you've killed?
No, I don't even know.
But you remember doing it?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I was engaged in a war, and the rules of engagement were kill or be killed, you know?
Monster Cody was about 3 years ahead of Big U, so by the time Big U was really making moves and becoming a major figure, Cody was already out of the streets and no longer active with the 8 Treys. Even Big U himself admitted that things would have been way more intense if Cody was still active, and he even said that Cody was one of his inspirations.
Cody was an enigma, man. If he could have stayed straight, he'd have been a mark. I look up to him. I got a lot of respect for him.
There's a lot to get into here, so let's dive in. Born in 1963, Cody grew up in an environment that was anything but nurturing. His father, Ernest, was abusive, frequently beating him, while his mother, Birdie, was distant and neglectful. The family dynamic was chaotic, and by the time his parents divorced in 1970, it was clear that Cody was already on a troubled path. Things only escalated further when, in 1972, his mother moved him to South Central Los Angeles, a neighborhood that, at the time, was quickly becoming a battleground for gang activity. It wasn't long before Cody found himself drawn to that world. One of his neighbors happened to be Stanley Tookie Williams, a man who would later become infamous as one of the co-founders of the Crips.
All right, let's stop right there. What do y'all notice about the guys from back then? I'm gonna tell y'all, they was well-spoken, educated. You don't hear him saying, on the dead homies and all. They didn't even talk like that. They didn't say nothing. And then they all in physical shape. They all in shape. That was a thing back in the days. You know, you want to be in the front yard, lifting your weights, getting your size up, staying healthy. That was a thing. Now, of course, a lot of dudes got on drugs when the drugs hit. But before all that, man, dudes was in shape and they was well spoken, educated.
He took Cody under his wing, introducing him to gang culture. Cody would spend hours at Tookie's house watching older gang members lift weights, smoke PCP, and talk about the street life. To a kid with no real parental guidance, this was his version of education. He was soaking it all in, fascinated by the power and respect that these men commanded.
And at that age, it's very easy to feel powerless because a lot of us are powerless. So we join gangs, as I did, for the power. To be able to say, this is my crew, this is my posse, these are my homeboys.
Years later, Tookie would reflect on this period in his memoir Blue Rage, Black Redemption, expressing regret for exposing Cody to the gang lifestyle so early. But by then, the damage was already done. Cody was all in. By 1975, a new Crip faction called the 8 Trey Gangsters had formed in Cody's neighborhood, and he wasted no time joining up. He had just graduated from 6th grade, but instead of worrying about school, he was already making a name for himself in the streets. His initiation was no joke. One night, he and some other gang members stole a car, loaded it up with weapons, and went hunting for rival gang members. Their target was a group of Bloods known as the Brims, and Cody was handed a sawed-off 12-gauge shotgun with strict instructions. He wasn't allowed to leave the scene until he had fired every last shell. That was his entry into the gang world. And
that sounds like a side mission to me. Yeah, man, you don't supposed to shoot all of them out. You're supposed to say some, so when you come back, in case somebody come chase you down. Yeah, y'all, if you know, you know, man. Let's get back to this.
And from then on, he was locked in.
He joined the Crips at age 11 on the day he graduated from the 6th grade. That night, he says he was given a shotgun, and for his initiation, he pumped 8 rounds into the ranks of a rival gang.
His reputation as Monster Cody only grew from there. He became known as one of the most ruthless members of the 8 Trey Gangsters, and his name struck fear into both enemies and allies. By the time he was 14, he had already caught his first serious serious case. In 1978, he was arrested for shooting a fast food worker who had disrespected his younger brother Kershawn. When he got out, the streets had already started to shift. The 8 Treys, who used to be tight with the Rollin' 60s Crips, fell out after a fistfight turned into gunplay. Things hit a point of no return when a new 8 Trey recruit took out Tyrone, the younger brother of Big Rick, a respected Rollin' 60s member. That move shifted the whole dynamic in the streets. Hoods that were once cool had to pick sides, and old friendships turned into deadly beefs.
So every Friday, that became like our routine. We'd meet up there and fight. The 8 Treys, 9-0s, the Hoovers. Every Friday, we would meet at the same spot and fight. So then that one Friday, that's when Tyrone got killed.
Monster was all in. The war with the 60s kicked off heavy, and he was already going at it with their blood rivals too. Sets like the Brims and the Inglewood.
All right, so that's where all the glasses and all that stuff come from. You look at them dudes back in the days, they all had their lokes on, their hats on, looked real cool. That was cool back then. Now it's not cool no more. I'm going to tell you why it's not cool no more, because this not back then. We older now. For the ones that's older, I'm going to say, it's not cool like it used to be when we was younger. Different mindset. Y'all even heard Tookie when Tookie said he regret turning Monster Cody onto the street like so young. And before he passed, this wasn't the same thing that they represented. All this taking one another out stuff. Back then, that wasn't what it was for the community. That's what it was all for, to protect the community. And then it went to, they wear a red bandana. These guys wear a blue bandana. It went to something else. I heard what he said. It's like having power, being from, this is my crew. We more powerful than y'all. And you know, like that's why I say this is like a culture thing that we just adapted, man. Not liking each other, man. This not it, man.
Families. In the summer of 1980, Monster's mom asked him to walk with her to the store. She liked shopping at this spot called the Buddha Market, which just so happened to be deep in Rollin' 60s territory. Sure enough, while there, Monster got into a shootout with a 60s member right outside the store. He caught a case for it, but ended up beating it. Then on July 8th, 1980, Monster's girlfriend had just given birth to his first child. On his way to the hospital, he passed through 60s turf and spotted a dude known as Bank Robber, a 60s member. Monster didn't hesitate. He shot him multiple times and drove off. By this point, Monster said the war had already claimed lives. 8 Treys had lost about 5 people, and the Rollin' 60s had lost around 8. Things had gotten way past just fights and shootouts. This was full-blown war. At one point, the 60s even kidnapped an 8 Trey member's sister and held her for 3 days, doing some truly graphic, messed up things to her.
Wow. Woo. Yeah, man, they was treacherous. I guess that's why you hear the other boy on here saying dudes be protecting certain dudes. And we hearing right here, I don't know if this is true or not. But if it is true, man, look how vicious we is to one another, man. I ain't got to sit here and do no preaching, man, or no teaching. Let's get back over here, man, see what they saying. Y'all know where I'm coming from.
That act alone sparked a whole new level of retaliation. Some 8 Trey gangsters wanted revenge, and not just on anyone. They were gunning for high-profile 60s, but they couldn't find them, though. So instead, they caught another 60s member and went brutal, chopped him up, and even kept his arms as trophies.
Monster Cody did an interview, and he said that he brought somebody's arm.
You mean to tell me that story is real?
Yes, that was Jay Blake's arm. It was real. He did bring an arm back. They chopped him up and put him in front of Jefferson High School.
By the end of 1980, Monster got set up by 3 women and ambushed by the 60s. He got shot multiple times but survived. Just 2 days after getting out the hospital, police picked him up for 6 different shootings. He went back to jail to fight the charges, and again, beat the cases. But soon, Monster ended up getting sent back to jail again. Now, despite dropping out of high school, Cody found himself drawn to education while behind bars. Prison gave him time to think, and he used that time to read, learning about Malcolm X, the Black Panthers, and revolutionary ideologies that
and them all the books that we all read when we get up in there. Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X. We read all these books, man. I read his book, Art of War, 48 Laws. All these old books you come across. When you go up in there, that's when you get your mind right. Your mind is clear. You know, you didn't have access to all these drugs. A lot of people didn't really do all these crazy drugs that they doing nowadays anyway. So you read books, educate yourself. Now you don't see that no more. Only thing you hear about is squabbles. The only time it was a squabble is if we had to go, go to war up in there, man.
Made him question everything he had been taught in the streets. He started associating with members of the Republic of New Africa, and that exposure pushed him to re-examine his purpose. It wasn't just about survival anymore. He wanted something bigger, something that mattered. His involvement in activism deepened when he participated in the 1992 Los Angeles riots, a massive uprising sparked by the brutal beating of Rodney King by LAPD officers. The riots were a turning point in L.A.'s history, and Cody was right in the middle of it, standing with his people in defiance of a system that had oppressed them for generations. That, of course, led to yet another arrest. By 1993, Cody was sitting in solitary confinement at Pelican Bay State Prison, one of the most notorious prisons in California. But it was in that cell, alone with his thoughts, that he decided to write down his life story. That decision led to Monster, the autobiography of an LA gang member, a book.
That's the book I read right there. Let me blow this up, man. Y'all need to go check this book. I wonder if it's still in the store. That was a cold book right there, man. Y'all need to go read that book. Man.
Book that would shake the world. At that time, gang culture was still somewhat of a mystery to the general public. Most people only saw the surface level violence, but Cody's book gave them a first-hand account of what life in the trenches was really like.
This book is 383 pages of reality. I'm uniquely qualified to write 383 pages of life for this generation, and that's what I've done. It's 383 pages of gore, no doubt about that.
All right, we're going to get back to that. Let me rewind it so y'all can see where we stopped at before we get there. But y'all heard what he said. The gang life was like a secret. Nobody really knew about it. When he wrote this book, it gave him an intel. And that intel had all these people that wasn't from the gang life intrigued by these stories. Even to this day, you got people like No Jumper, Adam 22 on No Jumper, the Vlads. They are intrigued by this gang lifestyle. Well, I ain't gonna say too much of Vlad because he don't really have too many gang members up there. He do though, but he don't have a lot, many as No Jumper do. So yeah, even to this day, people are still intrigued by it. All right, let's get back to this though. Let's go.
It's reality. It happens every day.
Cody went on to write 2 more books, a novel titled Thug Life, and another one called Stand Up, Struggle Forward, New African Revolutionary Writings on Nation, Class, and Patriarchy. He was even working on a third before he passed. Now, for someone as monstrous as Monster Cody once was, he still managed to turn his life around, becoming an author and activist, despite being one of the most notorious figures out there. But on the flip side, you have Big U, who came up 3 years after Cody. Instead of learning anything from him, he built a name as a bully, never even doing half of what Cody did. And now, it looks like karma has caught up with him. He might just end up rotting in prison for a long time. One of the most shocking allegations being leveled against Big U is his alleged involvement in the 2021 murder of Rayshawn Williams. Back in 2021, Big U started a record label called Unique Music and signed up-and-coming rappers from the West Coast. One of them was Rayshawn Williams, but somewhere along the line, things got messy.
Mr. Henley engaged in a murder of a musician signed to his label in 2021 and dumped the victim's body.
It's not exactly clear what sparked the tension between them, but what we do know is that Rayshawn ended up dropping a diss track aimed at Big U, and that may have cost him his life.
They do say that part of the investigation involves the murder of another young rapper back in Las Vegas.
All right, now when you hear these stories from these type of dudes, man, it make you wonder, the minds of the people that's in this lifestyle. You got some people, like the people that you see, all this internet stuff that you seeing, man, these are, everybody on here just found out a way. Like I always say and repeat it, we're going to keep repeating. They on here for the revenue, man. They on here for the paper. That's it. That's all. Because if they stopped it, wouldn't nobody be on here. But just think of the minds of the people, man, that we spent so much energy in tearing down one another. Man, we could be some powerful people, but we use our energy for the wrong things, man. Let's get back to this though.
The murder was over, are you ready for this? A diss that he had written something in a song supposedly talking bad about Big U, and that is why he ended up getting murdered.
In the song, Rayshawn called Big U a bro that made some money, basically downplaying his power, and then took it a step further by saying, "This song can get me killed for thinking ish funny." Even crazier, he rapped about getting shot in the face with a .38 revolver that would leave no trace.
Referring to Big U as bro that makes some money, and that unnamed rapper may get shot in the face for thinking that his use of the studio and representation by Unique Music is funny.
5 days after dropping the track, Las Vegas police found his body in a ditch. He had been—
Wow. Ooh, they gonna put this together to get your ass locked up, boy.
Shot in the face with a revolver. And the cops think Big U is the one who pulled the trigger.
But the track was eerie given what happened next. Just days later, the rapper was shot in the face.
And here's where it gets even darker. Big U had known Rayshawn since he was a kid. He was actually his football coach back in the day. But that history didn't stop him from allegedly setting him up. According to court documents, Big U's label, Unique Music, flew Rayshawn from California to Las Vegas in January 2021. They put him up in an Airbnb, and he was supposed to spend the week recording new music at the studio. But when Rayshawn missed one of the sessions, Big U and his right-hand man, Sylvester Robinson, drove out to Vegas to check on him. When they pulled up to the Airbnb, they asked Rayshawn why he didn't go to the studio, and he told them he didn't have a ride. The next day, Rayshawn, Big U, and Sylvester Robinson finally made it to the studio together. No one knows exactly what went down inside.
All right, we gonna stop right there, man. Y'all can go check that out. That's on, let me find this channel, man. That's Hood War Chronicles. Y'all go over there and check that out. Man, these guys, man, live the cold lifestyle, man. It's some cold people out here in these streets, man. And yeah, you got to be careful out here, man. You do not want to run across some youngsters with them type of mentalities that these young, when they was young, the minds that they had, man. You read that monster book, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, man, I'm gonna get up out of here. Leave y'all thoughts in the comment section. Hope y'all enjoyed this reaction. We're gonna get back to the, the normal reactions that we do. But like I say, every now and then I do find these type videos to do a reaction to. Y'all subscribe to the channel. I'll catch all of y'all on the next one.
Like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, Compton Rec Rock TV. Also, hit that notification bell and catch every video when I drop.